Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Jeremy of Brendle Concepts, and today I am really excited to show this video to everyone. This has been a long time in the works, and for those of you that have been following along, I just want to say thank you. I really do appreciate it. I really hope today brings the design kind of to light and you get where I'm going with this car. I've had a lot of people ask, really kind of what the hell are you doing with this thing? Because it just looks like a hodgepodge of Mad Max, whatever going on. And today is the day where you get to see the design on the passenger side of the front end. So last time I was here, we had done the round rod. Now today, obviously I have the round rod done on this side and a little piece of foam down at the bottom, and we'll get to that. But first, I wanted to say, I wanted to do a time-lapse video of the round rod and how I was installing it. It didn't work out, but I have a lot more footage today that I think is a lot better to show you, because this is essentially the process for getting this side fully foamed like the other. So with that, let's go take a look at the other side that's fully foamed, and you can kind of see the details and the shape of these wheel arches and wheel wells and everything else that I've designed. So let's take a look. Okay, so that really gives you a good idea of what these wheel wells and everything is going to look like on the car now that it's fully foamed. I'm really happy with it. There's not a whole lot that I wasn't expecting. Originally, I started with these fiberglass base panels, and everybody was kind of like, what are you doing? And the reason I needed to do these is because as you see the foam and the round rod together, all of that is going to be completely encased in fiberglass, inside, outside, every which way. Now, to get the backside completely encased in fiberglass, I had to create these base panels and work my way out. It's a little bit different than like a traditional like bolt-on body kit, because I'm building my structure, to tie into the existing car. It's going to be permanently attached. It's going to be molded and blended. So it's not something that's just, straight bolt-on. So I had to account for a lot of different things. And we'll talk about some of those things later. But to get started, I took all these base panels and I had to block them down for two reasons. Number one, because I want to fiberglass the inside here, because the stuff is going to be exposed, I wanted to scuff this extremely well. Once the foam is in place, it's almost impossible for anything to get back in here into these tight crevices. So I want to make sure that everything is really scuffed. The second reason, these panels have to line up. And I mean, from here to here, this has to be really nice. So I had to take this down and level everything out. I did that with basically a DA, 80 grit paper. Then I did some handmade blocks that I use because, like everything else, I like to make my own tools. And from there, we just finished it off with a regular old paint stick. That is just to get in some really tight corners and make sure that everything is blended well. So I got some video footage of me actually blocking this stuff out, and you can take a look at that now. All right, so after all the blocking was done, I had to recreate my cut line. Now you'll see this pinstripe tape. This is actually two separate pieces of 1/8 inch pinstriping tape. Each one represents something different. The first layer of pinstriping tape is actually my blend line. This is where I want to tie my fiberglass on top into my base panel. The second piece of tape represents my cut line. So once all my fiberglass is laid up and over, this should essentially be where I want to trim everything. Now, what's underneath this fiberglass here is still just the hood. I've had people think that I cut all this stuff out and this is just, open space under here. It's not. It's just on top of the hood. All this stuff from these green lines up is getting trimmed and discarded. We will no longer use it. This stuff will get permanently attached, like I said. So I've got a little bit of video here of me showing how I get these lines, and you can take a look at that. Now, once these lines have been established, I can go back in and it's actually time to start the foam process. It's a little bit of a tedious process, so I didn't get a whole lot of that on video, but I do have some to show you. What I have to essentially do is create a template, and I do that by layering basically painter's tape and tracing different points on my round rod. I create my shape, also the contour of my line here. Once I have that template, I can transfer that over to my foam and actually cut it to shape. I always leave it a little bit proud so that I can trim it and get a really accurate fit. There isn't a whole lot of give in this foam. There's not a lot of stretch, so you can't really pull it as tight as I would like. So you have to be very accurate with the cuts. If you're undercut, you can't pull it to make it work. So it's pretty darn accurate. So once we get the foam trimmed, it is time to actually glue it in place. But before we do that, we have to scuff all these rods really heavily. We want to make sure that the bonding glue gets into all the crevices and really bonds the fabric, or the foam to the round rod. It's not a very difficult process, but like anything else, you really got to follow directions and make sure you're allowing for proper cure times and everything else. So I got a little bit of a video of me actually putting some of this glue onto the foam and actually putting one of the pieces in. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so back here on the passenger side of the car, I just wanted to show kind of what I've done here so that you get a better understanding of how this is going to work. Now, all these pieces of foam have, like I said, been cut to shape. They've been glued in. These are all secure now. Now, what I wanted to really highlight is how I'm doing this here. And on these blend lines, I've actually tapered the inside of my foam. And the reason for this is because when this foam bevels back to the fiberglass, there's two different ways you could actually do this. You could actually shave the top of the foam and fiberglass right over top of it. It's not wrong, but for me, it's not how I do things. I like to build things that I know are going to be bomb-proof. So for me, I beveled the inside of the foam, which dropped essentially the foam about an 1/8 inch before my trim or my fade line, which essentially is going to allow me to have 3/8 of an inch of pure fiberglass that I can fiberglass over and to. And I know it sounds kind of complicated, but essentially what I'm trying to do is maximize how much strength I have at this joint where the new fiberglass panel on top skin will meet the existing base panel. So these are high stress points. I mean, there's going to be a lot of flexing. The hood has to open and close. I am planning on making this an actual full fender. I don't want this to be a 3-piece split like it is from factory. So these parts have to be strong. So this is basically my way of ensuring that once these parts are laminated onto the car permanently, or sorry, glued onto the car permanently, this section right here is going to be extremely strong and is going to allow a lot of material for me to sand and really make sure that I can blend all this stuff back into the original body really, really cleanly. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I'm going to spend the rest of the next couple of days getting the foam on the other side done. And from there, we're going to be jumping back to the back end of the car. So if you want to, continue to see what we're doing, make sure, you're watching, tell your friends. The backside is going to get a lot more intricate. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. So make sure you're checking back, and thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.